On this episode, I'm going to show you how to master the French style and the American style omelette. The omelette is a simple dish, but it takes a bit of skill and technique to master. But this is the only omelette tutorial you'll ever need. Once you watch it, you'll be able to make the perfect omelette every time. The first omelette we're going to make is the American style omelette. I've got 3 eggs in a bowl, which is perfect for a one-person omelette. And we don't want to over whisk because that would detangle the proteins just enough where you don't see any more white speckles. So now that the eggs are ready, I'm going to place them to one side. I've got a small little gas stove here and I've got a pan on. This is an 8-inch pan and I'm just heating it up to about a medium high. The Western omelette is different than the French omelette. We use a harsher heat, whereas we're looking to get a brown color on it. So I'm just going to heat it up, and what I'm going to do is add a little bit of butter, about a tablespoon, and a small amount of oil as well. Butter's not only going to help it brown, it's going to give it a nice nuttiness as well. I'm going to add some red pepper, some diced onion. You could use green pepper if you want to. You could also use scallions and some ham. And what I'm doing now is sauteing off my ingredients. So basically cooking these ingredients ready for it. So we're just cooking them off. And I'm also using non-stick pan. Whenever we're making an omelette, we always want to have everything in place. The term what we often hear is mise en place, and it's basically just to have everything ready. As you start cooking them eggs, the last thing you want to be doing is running off to the refrigerator trying to chop ingredients, because it'll have a tendency to overcook. We're going to add these to a bowl. I'm just going to turn it off for a second. I'm just going to use my cloth just to wipe out the omelette pan. So what I'm going to do is now, the heat's going up to medium. I'm going to add the butter. About a tablespoon of butter. Adds nice richness to it. Now that this is nice and warm, we're going to add the whisked eggs. Now you'll notice it's a different technique than what we do with the French. With the American omelette, we just pull it in from the sides. It's going to give us a larger curd. One of the common questions we're always asked is, how do you know when an omelette's ready? You can tell by looking at the top how wet it is. Now if you see, I'm pulling the sides, just pulling it in, making sure the egg is cooking. But what we're going to do to make sure we perfectly cook this today also is actually use a lid. At this stage now, what we're going to do is add some of the toppings to it. So I know I'm going to be folding this omelette in half, so I'm just going to go half with it. I'm going to turn the heat off now because we know the bottom's cooked. And I'm just going to add a few tablespoons, and then I'm going to add some mozzarella cheese. At home, feel free to use some cheddar cheese or whatever your favorite cheese is. You could have some soft herb cheeses in there. And then what we're going to do at this stage now, it's off the heat. As you can see, I'm just moving this small gas stove, and I'm going to place a lid on it. And this lid is going to help to cook this. It's been sitting for about 2 minutes. And as you look inside now, the residual heat from the pan and the omelette has melted the cheese. You can just see how it's melted beautifully. And you can see that the omelette's set, but it's not overcooked. When it comes to serving an American style omelette, we're just going to fold it over, and then we bring over the pan, and how we serve it is just taking the pan, placing the plate on, and then just turning it over. A little bit of pepper, and there you have a fabulous American omelette. When it comes to making a French style omelette, that's a lot more delicate and it's a lower heat. If you've been to France and you've had one, you'll notice that it's slightly undercooked compared to the Western style omelette we have in the United States. For the recipe, we're going to add 2 large eggs, We're also going to be adding 1 egg yolk. This egg yolk will help this be nice and creamy. That fat content in the egg yolk is perfect for this recipe. A lot of omelettes will add some whipping cream to it, maybe 1 tablespoon. But I find adding an egg yolk adds a real richness, which is typical of a French omelette. The key to it is not over whipping it, because that will end up with a dry, runny omelette. When I say runny, watery. So what we want to do is just give this a whisking until it's mixed. I'm going to actually add a tablespoon of frozen butter that's been chopped up. You can see I've taken a tablespoon of butter and I've chopped it up into small cubes and popped them in the freezer. What this does, it helps actually give us a steaming process inside the egg and gives us that richness. And I'm also going to be adding some fine herbs. I've got some chives, thyme and chervil. If you wanted to, you could just use some parsley in yours, and we're just going to bring these together, just give them a little whisking. I've got the pan on a low heat, the lowest heat it can, and I've been warming it up for about 5 minutes. I want to make sure the pan's warm but not hot. We're not looking to get too much colour on this pan. That's the way the French like to cook their omelette. I'm going to be using 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter, so we can see the butter's melting nicely. Now watch what we do with the fork. I'm going to add the egg mixture to it, and now I'm going to shake the pan and I'm going to start to move this. I'm looking to get a small curdle, so you can see it's much different, and you can see within them couple of moments we've got ourselves, it's starting to set. At this point, I'm going to take it off the heat, and I'm going to use a spatula to actually press the omelette down. At this stage now, I'm going to add some Gruyere cheese. Feel free, if you wanted to, you could use cheddar. I'm going to place the lid on, and that's going to go on there for 60 seconds. Remember, the French like their omelette a bit wetter than what we have here in the United States. After about 60 seconds, you can see that the omelette's set nicely and the cheese is melted. Now, the French have a wonderful way of shaking the pan that takes quite a bit to master. I don't think we need to go through that stress at home. I just want to show you how to roll an omelette, which is really easy to do. I'm taking a plate and a paper towel, so I'll just move this to one side, and I'm going to take a plate and a paper towel, and I'm going to have the paper towel about 2/3 of the way on the plate, and I'm just going to, using my spatula, come around the omelette, make sure it's moving, and I'm going to place it onto the towel. As you look, you can see that the omelette is on the paper towel, and all we want to do is just take the paper towel and use the paper towel to roll up the omelette. It's just going to come around it and roll it and roll it. A little bit of pepper on there and a couple more of those herbs. And that is a French omelette. Let's cut this omelette open just so you can see the difference in the creaminess. Just taking the omelette, and you'll notice how the center is just so soft. As you look in, you can see that it's lovely and creamy compared to the American omelette or the Western omelette.